Girder.
Tribune.
A dirter.
Ontogeny.
Glue is cheap.
Tribune.
Girder. Girder. A dirter. dirter, 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 dirter,
Tradoon.
dirter, 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 dirter,
I present to you the top 10 weirdest looking dinosaurs. I want to state the obvious and tell you that I'm going to be butchering the names of these dinosaurs.
Butchering the names of these dinosaurs.
In at number 8, we have the Tradoon.
In 1856, the fossilized teeth of a small dinosaur were discovered in Montana. The species was aptly named Troodon, which means wounding teeth.
Tradoon.
When evolution passed out the stealth gene, Troodons lucked out.
Purdue. Purdue.
This drawer contains almost all of the North American identified specimens of Troodon.
Troodon was every inch the predator, with razor-sharp serrated teeth and large, hook-like claws. Troodon probably fed on our ancestors, the early mammals. Troodon may have posed a greater threat to mammals than any other predator on Earth. Troodon was suddenly cut down in its prime.
Purdue.
Well, hello, everybody. And welcome back to Paleontologizing. It is so good to see all of you here today. So glad you could join us on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Sorry I'm a little bit late today, almost an hour late. But that often happens on a Wednesday when I have to read all the papers, get ready for our science crossover stream with Balint later. Very excited about that. Can we get a shout out for science streams? And I also went on a little excursion this morning. Back out to a field site. I actually took my dad there today because it's his birthday. So, happy birthday, Dad. Thanks for going out there with me. It was really cool. Exciting things are happening. And I can't quite talk about them yet, but the time that I can talk about them might come a little bit sooner than I was expecting. So stay tuned for that. Exciting things are happening. Anyway, if anybody's here for the very first time, allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. So a paleontologist is a fossil scientist. Dinosaur paleontologist means that I study dinosaurs, not that I am a dinosaur who is a paleontologist. Just to clear that up. Paleontologist is a fossil scientist, meaning a scientist who studies fossils, not a fossil who is a scientist. Anyway, I don't have to clarify this, you already understand. Most paleontologists do not work on dinosaurs. Paleontology is the study of fossils, the study of the remains of ancient living things. From bacteria to baleen whales, from fungi to fossorial mammals. If there's a living thing that existed on our planet and it left evidence of its existence in the fossil record, then paleontologists study that thing. You know? From the tiniest little fern fossil to the biggest sauropod dinosaur, we study them all as paleontologists. But I specialize in dinosaurs, as you can probably guess. Look at my office here. Dinosaurs are what I study, what I publish on in the scientific literature, what I talk about 5 days a week here on Twitch, and also what I dig up during the summers. I am very excited. In less than a month now, at the end of this month, at the end of May, I'm going to be out in the field digging up dinosaurs in Wyoming. And I am very, very excited for that. Here we go. Let me get this clip set up. There we go. Let's see. Is that any better? So this was last summer in Wyoming. I'll be back out here again in less than a month.
The dial on the microphone was turned all the way down, I guess. Yes. Excellent. Is the sound as crystal clear as it should be?
Badman Dex, yeah.
Past streams?
I'll be out there in less than a month.
Welcome, Reaper Extra, Ghostly Ghoul. Thank you for the 6 months of support. Here, let me introduce you. And Freya. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Again, for anybody who's new here, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza.
I already
I'm a
said some of
dinosaur
this stuff.
paleontologist. You probably know already that a paleontologist is a scientist who studies fossils. I work on dinosaur fossils in particular. So I dig up dinosaurs in places such as this,
Yeah.
western Wyoming. I study dinosaurs, I publish on them in the scientific literature, and nowadays I actually make my living here on Twitch, streaming paleontology.
It's true. I do this full time.
Usually 5 days a week. But I'm out here in the late Cretaceous almond formation. Have been for a little over a week now. And I can't stream every day because this is a real working dinosaur dig.
I'm going to
we're
try
digging
and
up new
stream as
specimens.
close
It's
as
a
I
lot of
can to
hard
every
work.
day this year.
We've been dealing with inclement weather at times.
Yeah.
And it's unpredictable out here in the field. So I've been doing the best I can, but luckily today, it is a beautiful day. It is not raining, as you can see.
Nice and blue.
Temperature. It's in the 70s today. I figured it's a perfect day to stream. We're digging up a duck-billed dinosaur just over this ridge, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes here.
I'll be returning to this very same site and digging up more of this dinosaur this next month. Later on in this month, I'll be back out there at the end of May. Here we go. April, no. April, afuera. Go away, April. We're done with you. You are finished. The month of April. There we go. Be gone. It is now May 2024. May 1st today. My dad's birthday. We'll be celebrating World Tuatara Day tomorrow. Also, it's Thursday, Birds Day. But anyway, I'll be out in Wyoming starting on the 30th of this month. It is creeping up. I am very, very excited for that. And then for the succeeding month, the entire month of June, I will be streaming from the field in Wyoming. Digging up dinosaurs live on camera. Answering your questions live, showing you live what it's like to dig up dinosaurs. I believe pretty strongly in, when it's possible, showing instead of telling. I think that's a big part of good science outreach. Is show, don't tell. And so I hope you're as excited as I am to see this. I'll be showing you. You watch, ask questions. Feel like you're really there in the field, digging up dinosaurs with a crew of paleontologists and volunteers. It's going to be a ton of fun. So yeah. May Day is our late day. Yes, exactly. Yes, Claire Bird. Anyway, and before I head out to Wyoming, I'm going to be heading out to Utah first, because that's where Ethan lives. Ethan is our expedition lead. He lives in Salt Lake City. Right near the Capitol building, actually. I will be probably staying with Ethan for a few days. Maybe I'll have the skrill to get a hotel room, actually. That'd be really nice. Not have to sleep on the floor. But yeah, and one of those days, I talked to Jim Kirkland about this. We're going to try and do a stream from the Utah Raptor Mega Block. So in the U.S. Geological Survey, or excuse me, the Utah Geological Survey facility there in Salt Lake, there exists this incredible thing. The Utah Raptor block. Let's see, let's scoot back to the beginning. This is a huge, car-sized block of rock that was extracted from the field, brought back to the laboratory. It encapsulates probably a dozen different Utah Raptor specimens in here. From the tiniest little hatchlings with maxilla bones, like the main tooth-bearing bone in the upper jaw. Maxilla bones like the size of a pencil eraser, up to adult Utah Raptor that would have been 20, maybe 25 feet long.
Yeah, you bet. I'm Scott Madsen. I've been working on this thing for a bunch of years now.
I don't know if Scott Madsen's still working on it. I think we ran out of money
if
for
you can
that,
kind of
honestly.
work your way around this thing.
But this is it. This is the Utahraptor Mega Block.
You know, you can fill in over here. You don't have to be standing in the back. Come in where you can. This quarry was discovered back around 2000 by a geology student named Matt Stykes. And he's a guy from Northern Arizona University doing a geology thesis on the Cedar Mountain sandstone, which is what this came from. Since he's done his work, we've learned that this is about 100. We think about 137 million years old. So it's pretty low in the Cretaceous.
Anyway, awesome stuff. We've got all kinds of Utahraptor bones from inside of this, and Scott was hard at work prepping this thing.
And this equipment that you see here.
Let me see if I can find you. There's a quick tour of that.
Take a little tour. So I think we'll start right here.
There we go. Let's start.
Hi, I'm Scott Madsen, and this is the Utahraptor Project. Today we're going to take a look at some aspects of this mega block that we've been preparing the last couple of years.
This is the first instance that we have in all of dinosaur paleontology of dinosaurs being trapped in quicksand. That's what we think is the mechanism for all of these animals ending up in this little block right here, all jumbled up, their bones all mixed together. We think they got trapped in quicksand here. Don't know how long that took. There's also the bones of an iguanodontian dinosaur in here, a plant-eating dinosaur. But, this is a lovely, lovely, lovely illustration of what may have happened here. These animals trapped almost like the La Brea tar pits. An iguanodontian dinosaur got stuck, and you had a family of Utahraptor who came to feed on it, and they all got trapped as well. It really does seem to be quicksand, because the matrix itself is sandy. It's a sandstone. That's consistent with kind of a quicksand, you know, taphonomic setting for this. So yeah, it is pretty incredible.
And take a little tour. So I think we'll start right here. This bone, pretty obvious. This is the end of a femur, so this would be about where the animal's knee is.
Thigh bone right there.
It's kind of the lower half of the leg bone. Behind here,
and Dr. Hubb says, as someone who worked on the tar pits, this looks eerily familiar. Yeah.
Part of a leg here.
A self-baiting trap. Exactly, Dr. Hubbs, exactly.
This here is the hinge where the jaw attaches to the rest of the skull. Further back behind it, there's an actual...
Look at that. Gorgeous! That is so beautiful. Look at this dentary right here. So there's the proximal end of the jaw where it would line up with the like angular and syrangular and those bones over there. This is the dentary, and look at those teeth. Of a young Utahraptor here. Beautiful.
Right here with a nice little
my goodness.
About a dozen teeth. And next to that, a maxilla, upper part of the
upper jawbone.
So
these animals are all disarticulated. They fell apart after death, as you would expect in like a quicksand setting.
Got a nice little femur, about a foot long, that belonged to a little juvenile. And next to that, a series of similar bones. I'm not exactly sure what they are yet, but it's probably a vertebral column, a few ribs. And up at this end, we've got part of a...
Anyway, more of this has been prepped out since they did this in December 2018. Shoot, that was 5 years ago at this point. A little bit more than 5 years ago. More of this has been worked on since then, and I'm really, really excited to show that to you. I'll be doing a live stream from here. With any luck, we can make this happen. Jim is gung-ho about the idea, so I just got to coordinate with him, and if the stars align, which they should, we should be able to do a live stream from here, and it'll be really, really cool. This is stuff that's not published yet. This is all new. This is cutting edge of dinosaur paleontology right here. The Utahraptor block, man, when this thing gets published on, It's funny, there are different researchers who are already working on this. Some of them are saying that, oh, we've got multiple new species of theropod dinosaur in here. They're like Utahraptor, but smaller and more primitive. I think they're probably juvenile Utahraptor, but other people think that they're new species of dinosaur in here. We'll talk about that a little bit. Anyway, it's going to be a ton of fun. So join us for that. That'll be around... That'll be like the maybe 27th, 28th, or 29th of May, I think. I got to coordinate that with Jim, but we'll figure it out.
Ontogeny.
Man, I'm excited. Yeah. Oh, and thank you, Kleber, for reposting that from Diagonal. Sorry, I've been neglectful of chat so far. Do fossil preparators spend all their time on one specimen until it is done, before starting another? Or do they rotate between several current projects from day to day? It depends who you're talking to and how many specimens they have access to, Diagonal. Yeah. One of the greatest fossil preparators who's ever lived, as far as I'm concerned, is, Carrie Ansell. Here she is.
Hold on, something's coming out of here. Look, there's a bird, dude. It knows what's good.
It knows what's good?
Tony, I just heard it inside.
Really? Lordy! Thank you!
21 Raiders also know what's good.
You do know what's good. Welcome, Lordy and Raiders. 21 viewers. That's a good number. Holy moly. Lordy, how did your stream go? How was the sewing? I hope everything went well. It's good to see you. Tell me what you were working on. If anybody here in the chat who's not yet following Lordy, if you're the sort of person who, this might be kind of a niche interest, but if you're the sort of person who wears clothing, you might want to follow Lordy. She makes clothing on her stream. She sews it up with a sewing machine. It sounds like magic. I assure you, it is well grounded in reality. And Lordy can show you how it works if you follow her. Lordy, I hope it went really well. It's good to see you. How are things? Good stuff. Sewing went well today. I'm glad to hear it, Lordy. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, here I was looking at the Facebook. Goodness. And it won't let me open this in a new tab. That's annoying. Anyway, here is fossil preparator Carrie Ansell. She actually just retired a couple of years ago. But she was one of the greatest fossil preparators who has ever lived. And her face would turn crimson red, I'm sure, if I were to say that, if she were on camera. She's also an extraordinarily humble person. But Diagonal was asking about fossil preparators and how they work. Carrie Ansell would hop from project to project. You know, I asked her one time about what her process is. How do you work so incredibly quickly? How are you able to prep so many different dinosaurs? And when I say prep, I mean like to chip away the rock, chip away the matrix to get to the bone and get that bone ready for scientific study. When we bring something back from the laboratory, it needs to be cleaned. All the rock needs to be removed from it. And that is an extraordinarily painstaking, delicate, precise process. And Carrie is just an absolute virtuoso. She was able to do this incredibly quickly. And I asked her, like, Carrie, what's your secret one time? And she, bashful person, she did not want to, well, you know, I kind of work on something until I start to get a little bit frustrated with it, and then I move on to another thing. I set that aside, and I work on that intently until I get a little bit frustrated, and then I move on to another thing. So she'll have 3 or 4 different projects running at the same time. She'll just kind of skip between them like that. And That's not everybody's strategy as fossil preparators, but that was Carrie's strategy. And, again, Carrie Ansell here has prepped more new species of dinosaur than probably anybody else living today. She is a living legend. And I sincerely wish that she received more attention than she currently gets. She retired in, I think, spring of 2021. Let's see. Yeah, nope. We're not getting any here. Maybe if I just do a normal Google search. Maybe if I try DuckDuckGo, because Google is really, oof. I think it was summer of 2021 that she, or spring of 2021 that she retired. I remember teaching. I was doing outdoor ed at the time. And I remember hearing, like, seeing an alert on my phone, I think over Twitter, that Carrie was retiring, and I just said, oh, shoot. That means that fossil prep at Museum of the Rockies is going to take a nosedive. There was nobody with her level of skill and dedication to replace her. Again, she's an absolute virtuoso. Like, how in the world could... Yeah. Anyway, there's a blurry photo of her working on a dinosaur fossil there in her lab at Museum of the Rockies. But yeah. Anywho, fossil prep. For anybody wondering how that works, we can find a little video on that, I betcha. Some of the unsung heroes of vertebrate paleontology are preparators. These people who clean the fossils, they make them ready for study after being brought back from the field. Here, take a look. This is from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City.
This specifically is the skull of a dinosaur from a group of families called ankylosaurs. They are the armored dinosaurs, if you can imagine an armadillo with a lot of spikes all over it. It's a common misconception that
I don't know how to call it an armadillo, but yeah.
In the field where they're found. What actually happens is that a researcher will be walking through,
Here, actually, shoot, Before we get to this point, let me show you how it works in advance of this. How do we actually bring these things back from the field? Here are some of my colleagues here. You'll recognize some familiar faces if you're a long-time viewer here.
After a bone is discovered in the rock,
This is actually the same quarry that I work in Utah. I'm going to be here.
Strange beasts were protected by massive plates of bony armor.
Feist.
Dino dance.
Thank you for the 37 months of support, Feist. 37 months! Holy moly, that's almost a whole year. Appreciate you, Feist. Thank you. Thank you very much, Feist. This is the same hole, the same quarry that I dig in. I'm going to be here digging again from mid-July to mid-August in Utah. This is the Mierosaurus quarry, which, you dig down a little bit deeper, and then you get into... There's just another layer of dinosaurs from earlier in time in this same exact quarry here. So this is literally like the same hole that I was digging in last summer and will be digging in again from July to August this year.
surface is uncovered, just enough so that the aerial extent of the bone can be seen. The bone
So,
is then pedestal,
we're digging these bones
and then
out.
a protective
Big
plastic
old
jacket
femur right
is
here.
put around the bone. Here, a large femur is being readied for jacketing. Layers of damp paper towels are placed over the bone as a separator to protect it from the plaster.
So this is the thing. In order to get these bones safely out of the ground, we have to build what we call a field jacket over it. Or sometimes called a plaster jacket because it's made of plaster. First, you shroud the bone in paper towel to protect it from the plaster. You don't want plaster on bone. The plaster will mess up that bone. It will potentially destroy it. So you need a layer of separator there. Paper towel is what we use. We dampen it so it fits into all those nooks and crannies, just like an English muffin. You know, you want it nice and tight on there. No air in between. Just like that.
Strips of burlap are soaked in plaster of Paris.
You'll see plenty of this
this
summer when I'm doing field work.
After the plaster has hardened, the pedestal can be undermined and the jacket flipped over.
So the thing is, in order to get these fossils out of the ground without them completely crumbling to dust, we have to first encase them in this kind of plaster cocoon like this that we call a field jacket. So we do that over the top, but there's still rock underneath it. So what we do is we kind of tunnel underneath it. We dig underneath it. We want to get this thing so we can flip it over without all of the rocks spilling out from underneath. Because if you don't do it right, that's exactly what will happen. This whole thing will just crumble to dust when you try and flip it. So we dig very carefully underneath. Sometimes we put side strips from plaster. We get it plastered all the way underneath as far as we can get it, and then we flip it. It's kind of like I don't know. Think if you're making pancakes, flapjacks, or hot cakes, whatever people from the UK call them. I know we've got some UK viewers here. When you go to flip a pancake, a flapjack, a hot cake, you don't want to put your spatula under just the edge and then flip it because you'll ruin it. It'll get all messed up. The Raven, hello from the UK. How are you doing? We love our UK viewers here, even if we make fun of them a little bit. Yeah. And Ken, how are you doing? It's good to see you, Ken. Welcome back, Ken. Hope you're doing well. It's kind of like that. Flipping a fossil jacket is a lot like flipping a pancake. You got to make sure it's done before you flip it. Or else you go to flip it and then the bottom will come out, it'll tear, and it'll just be all messed up. You know? So yeah. And the field jitters, yes indeed, Ken. Oh boy. I went out to a field site briefly this morning and I'm feeling those field jitters. You know? Here, I guess I can tell you this. There is a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance, that I will be able to live stream from a fossil site here in the San Francisco Bay Area in the next few weeks. Before we go out to Wyoming. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we gotta flip the jacket so that we can do the same thing to the underside, you know, to jacket the underside of it. Yeah.
After the plaster has hardened, the pedestal can be undermined and the jacket flipped over. The same process is then used.
And so they didn't actually show the flip here. I actually live streamed some of the flips this summer. That was a little bit nerve-wracking to stream that part of the process where you flip it. Greg Paul wrote about this, actually. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It was in the Scientific American Book of Dinosaurs. One of the best accounts I've ever read of how to dig up a dinosaur was, it was Dan Chury who wrote this, actually. Huh, fancy that. Digging Them Up by Dan Chury. This is in the Scientific American Book of Dinosaurs, published around the year 2000 or so. Yeah. Once the blocks are formed by trenching, the blocks around the bones, it is time to start jacketing the fossil. Although fossilized, the bones are brittle. Vibrations from excavation, lifting, and transporting the fossil can result in breaking it apart, and it being destroyed or becoming an immensely aggravating 3D jigsaw puzzle. Here the approach is the same as putting a cast on a broken arm or leg. Enclose the fossil in something tight-fitting and rigid to protect and strengthen them. The standard fare is to use strips of burlap dipped in plaster. However, putting the compound directly onto the bone will make it very difficult to remove back in the lab without endangering the specimen. The solution is to put a separator on the fossil before applying the burlap. And you saw that here.
For jacketing. Layers of damp paper towels are placed over the bone as a separator to protect it from the plaster.
Bingo! And then you put the strips of burlap that are wrapped in plaster onto it. Put separator on the fossil before applying the burlap. The best separator is toilet tissue. I disagree. The best separator is paper towel. Or, as UK viewers would say, kitchen roll. Oh, a kitchen roll! Paper towel works a lot better than toilet tissue than toilet paper in my experience. I've never worked on a crew that's used toilet paper. It's way too it's not substantial enough. You want paper towel, you know? But a kitchen roll, what? There you go, the Raven, yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah. And paper towels tend to hold individual fibers better than toilet paper. Exactly, Kellen, okay, yeah. Yeah, toilet papers too fall aparty. Toilet tissue, or whatever it's called in the UK. Or in other Commonwealth countries. What do Canadians call toilet paper? Yeah. Future sponsor, Brawny. Yeah, there you go, Arle. We had some jokes about that last field season. Yeah. It's called bog roll. Thank you. Or loo roll. I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with you. Yeah. Yeah. And Jedi Mega Man says, still toilet paper here. Very nice. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. So, best separator is toilet tissue. I disagree. I think it's paper towels. Work a lot better. That's kind of standard, is paper towels. It need not be Mr. Whipple's Extra Soft Charmin. Virtually any paper will do. Again, paper towel is what you want. Here's the process. Put several layers of strips on the part of the block and slightly dampen them with a moist brush. This will allow the tissue to conform to the nooks and crannies of the block. Then mix up the plaster, dip in the burlap, and begin applying them with the hands and fingers to make it fit as tightly and as closely to the fossil as possible. By repeating this process, it is possible to eventually get the top and sides of the block nicely jacketed. And you saw some of this last summer, those of you who were watching Paleontologizing back then. Yeah, let me show you a clip of that. Let's see. Plaster jacketing the limbo of a new duckbill dinosaur. Here we go. Here's one of our jacketing streams. Yeah. There we go. So there's a big limb bone of a duckbill dinosaur right there. And I was kind of solo jacketing this that day on camera. A little bit nerve-wracking. Jacketing is, you know, it's an art. It's something that requires a lot of experience.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So, applying that layer of
this is not going to exactly using it. So this is a
paper towel over it. There we go. That separator layer. There we go. Until it is all done. There we go. And here I am measuring out the burlap to see how many different strips we'll need for that. it pays to be smart about this kind of thing, you know? If you just go at everything, if you shoot from the hip with all this stuff, you'll end up making mistakes. You waste material, you waste time. You know, you gotta think smarter, not harder with stuff like this. So it really does pay to kind of plan everything out. So here I'm soaking those burlap strips in the water there. And I believe we get a visit from Ken here. Measure twice, cut once. Exactly, Feist. Yeah.
Back to the trucks, didn't we?
And there's Ken right there.
Thanks, Ken. Is this the only bag that we have here, or did we have one in a trash bag also? I think we took it back to the trucks, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And Ken's got a knife right there. I have since become a knife guy, too.
Excellent. Thanks, Ken. You want to say hi to the camera?
So, it's so nice just having a knife on your person all the time.
Yeah. I know, I'm one to talk. Yeah. All right.
Anywho, there's Paleo Ken from here in the chat. Pouring the plaster in. And then you mix it up with your fingers.
All right, until we get like a big
It's a very hands-on process. Literally. Yeah, good stuff. So, mixing that up. And then you put your strips of burlap in there. You need at least 4 arms and 2 hands. Exactly, Claire Burr. Yeah. And you too, but you like the expensive knives? This one was like $25. And I really like it. I like it a lot. But I also have a different field knife that I use in the field. Occasionally I use it for digging. It's a K-bar, actually. Yeah, so taking those strips of plaster and then putting them around the bone like this, we're forming what we call a field jacket. That's how we build a field jacket like this. Yeah. Good stuff. Got it. Smooth it all out. Smooth it all out.
Might as well do one more layer. Why not?
And here I am. Should I? I've got a button unbuttoned there on the shirt. I didn't realize.
Big bone.
But I wanted to do a second layer here, and we had enough plaster for it, which is good. I'm glad I'd cut some extra strips. It was because I'd thought ahead that this was all possible. We didn't end up wasting that plaster. We had enough burlap for all the plaster that we mixed. Good stuff. Yeah.
The less it flexes when we try and flip it, the better. Ideally, you don't want it to flex at all.
Yep.
Because then you can get a bad flip where everything just kind of spills out of the bottom.
Yeah.
It's a disastre.
Yeah, we do not want to have a bad flip. That's discussed right here, actually. Yeah, so what about the bottom, which is still part of the rock outcrop? On the bottom here, we've put, plaster and burlap over the top of it. But what about the bottom underneath? Well. Just trench underneath the jacket until it's loose enough to roll over. And don't forget to support the jacket with rocks while you're undercutting it away from the outcrop. Once loose, it's time to turn it over and finish the jacketing. If the jacket up to this point is tight and well-fitting, and if the rock is fairly well consolidated and solid, the flip should go off without a hitch. Other than the occasional hernia, oh boy. However, in cases when the jacket is poor, or the sediment is weak, the contents might spill out of the bottom when it is rolled. A Kodak moment, writes Dan Chury here. That's what we call a bad flip. When you flip it over and then just, as you're trying to flip it over, everything just spills out from underneath, it crumbles to dust, your bone is destroyed. That's what we're trying to avoid by, you know, jacketing this in a way that's intelligent, thoughtful, efficient, etc. So yeah, it does suck when that happens, Smurf. We do not want that to happen. Yeah.
Dirter.
Oh yeah. And there you go, Alex Vixen, yes. Yeah. So that's why I put that second layer on here, as you want that to be nice and rigid. You want it to support the fossil really well. You don't want it to flex or bend or bow at all. You absolutely do not want that when you do a flip, especially for a big bone like this. The smaller the jacket, the easier it is to flip. The bigger the jacket, the harder it is to flip. This is not the biggest dinosaur jacket in the world. You know, it's just a tib. It's a tibia right there, but, you know, it's still much bigger than my tibia. My shin bone. I mean, look at that. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that's jacketing like you see here.
Strips of burlap are soaked in plaster of Paris and placed over the bone and rock to form a jacket. After the plaster has hardened, the pedestal can be undermined and the jacket flipped over. The same process is then used to seal the bottom of the jacket. It is now ready for...
Trek Nerd says the thing to avoid your jacket destroyed. Exactly. And it even rhymes, Trek Nerd.
Transport back to the lab.
You're a poet and you didn't know it.
From the rock.
Nope, we're done.
And Ken says that little hill behind Danny would soon be gone. Yes. We are going to be knocking this down right here because there will be more bones of this animal underneath it. We have a proper excavation permit for this site this year. So, oh yeah. We are going to go to town on this outcrop. Just, yeah, we're going to be doing some good old-fashioned overburden. Overburden is our term for when you're removing all of the stuff that's burdening you above. You know, the overburden, the rock above the bone layer. You got to knock all that down with picks and shovels and elbow grease and, yeah, swear words sometimes, although not on camera. Not while we're live streaming. Yeah. And then, eventually, you get the jacket back to the laboratory. So here is Assistant Utah State Paleontologist Don DeBlue here to explain the process of fossil prep.
So here we are back at the Utah Geological Survey.
Thank you, Salamander.
Here in our research center. So this is one of the jackets from Doling's Bowl. And as you remember from the parts in the field, we will isolate the bones and put a jacket over the top. In this case, there were several bones that were so close together that we weren't able to isolate them individually. So we got around as best we could, and then what you're seeing here is the top side from the field. And so we jacketed
There you go, Claire.
this
Exactly, yeah.
field, made it into kind of a
Very well
mushroom.
behaved, everybody on camera. I'm very grateful for
Flipped
that.
it over, and we put the top jacket on. So each one is mapped on the grid and has its own distinct number. So this one is Doling's Bowl, Gary's Island, number 69. So we have a log sheet and a map that has this on it.
And there you go,
Now
Salamander.
what we're gonna do is
Awesome.
flip it over so we
Yeah.
can cut that top jacket off and then work
Good
our
stuff.
way in
You ever playing it at work?
the bottom side.
You know, boss makes $1, I make a
Back to
dime.
our lab and
So I watch Paleontologizing on company time. I love that, Salamander. That makes me happy.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
And worked the rock down. You can see a few things coming out. So we have a big flat bone here. It's probably part of an ischium, which is part of the pelvis.
Yep.
And then here's the
And so that sound, those are not giant mosquitoes that you're hearing. Those are air scribes. An air scribe is a little tool. You'll probably see it in one of the fossil prep videos that we watch next. But that's how we clean the fossils, is with it's basically like a miniature pneumatic jackhammer. There's a little needle in there that goes bzzz, like this, powered by pressurized air from an air compressor. And it vibrates like that, and you chip away bits of rock until you can clean the fossil bone off.
vertebra here, And a few other little midnicks coming out here.
Oh, and very cool thing, one of two. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Very thoughtful thing. Thank you. And holy cow, this is gorgeous. This is the left foot of a sauropod dinosaur. So this is basically under the foot. You see the toes kind of curled up here. So those are the toe bones, and then you have the claws right here. So there's the big toe, second toe, third toe, and this is all in articulation. We think this dinosaur actually died because it got stuck in the mud. And this, well, I'll tell you what it is later.
Metatarsals. There's going to be one more little one down in here. Haven't got to it yet. And so that would make this the tibia. So that's what we call articulated when it's all together. Like this, it's very rare.
After the fossils are prepared in the lab, they're ready for scientific study and display. All the fossils collected by the Utah Geological Survey on public land
or not the same
are
animal.
placed in the permanent collections of the
Small
Natural
femur
History Museum of Utah. Here are some of the bones we have collected from the Cedar Mountain Formation that have been loaned by the Natural History Museum of Utah for exhibit at the John Wesley Powell Museum in Green River, Utah.
Green River, yeah. Nice. Anyway, the sauropod dinosaur who left its foot here, this was later described as Mirasaurus. This animal right here. Big critter. Not huge by sauropod standards, but it's funny. This is like, yeah, by sauropod standards, this is kind of a smallish or maybe medium-sized sauropod. If this animal were alive today, it'd be like, holy cow! The biggest land animal alive. Look how much bigger that is than an elephant. But back in the Mesozoic, it's like, it's a small sauropod. You know? Yeah. And it does look like Camarasaurus in that reconstruction there. Yeah. It is a Turriosaur, however, I believe. So it's, yeah. Let's see. Related to Moabosaurus. Yep, among the last surviving members of the Turriosauria, an otherwise Jurassic and European clade of dinosaurs. Distinguished by their heart-shaped teeth. Anyway, Mirasaurus. Pretty cool critter. So they're tourists, says Morphosaurus? Well, they migrated over from Europe after the end of the Jurassic period. Here we go. There are more dinosaurs known from Utah than any other state in the United States. At the end of the Jurassic period, the Morrison Formation, we had critters like Allosaurus here, running around doing their thing. Allosaurus and Stegosaurus, Camarasaurus and Brachiosaurus, Apatosaurus, Camptosaurus, and truly the king of the dinosaurs, Dryosaurus. They all lived here in the Morrison Formation. And then at the end of the Jurassic period, something bad happened. We don't know what yet, but something happened at the end of the Jurassic period, and it wiped out most of these dinosaurs in North America. And so you had dinosaurs kind of migrated in from Europe shortly thereafter to kind of take up that mantle, fill in those niches, to do all those jobs that were left open by these dinosaurs here. A few make it through, like the Ankylosaurus seem to survive. We think that like Gastonia might actually be a direct descendant of critters like Mimorapelta. Maybe. They seem pretty similar. But a lot of the other dinosaur groups just completely die out at the end of the Jurassic. And Mirasaurus seems to be a European immigrant. It walked over the land bridge from Europe after this. So yeah. The equilibrium was punctured and punctuated. There you go, Ken, yeah. I suppose. There seems to have been some kind of a catastrophe that struck. So yeah. Yeah. You're not wrong, Ken. Absolutely not. Anyhow. Cool critters. And Smurf says, I need to do a full body art piece of a Camarasaurus at some point. Yeah, that'd be cool. I did a a Camarasaurus coloring book piece for my students years ago. I wonder if I can find that. Maybe not. It might take too long to track down. Yeah, I don't see it here. Anywho, interesting stuff. Yeah. If you want to take a look at that poster, like I showed you, you should be able to find it, I think, here at the UGS website, the Utah Geological Survey website. Dinosaurs and fossils. They should have this, like, front and center. Utah in the Age of Dinosaurs. Here we go. That's it right there. That's the Dinosaurs of Utah poster. Beautiful. Here's a link for anybody who'd like to take a look. 115 plus species documented so far in 27 non-overlapping sequential fauna levels. Pretty extraordinary. So yeah, there's all these dinosaurs from the Morrison Formation, the end of the Jurassic, and then most of them go extinct and are replaced by these dinosaurs up here in the Cedar Mountain Formation, in which I will be digging this next summer, and Ken will be too. We'll be showing you firsthand what it's like to dig up these dinosaurs. Very excited about that. Yeah. Anywho. And Radical Static, how are you doing? Oh, dinosaurs were not lizards. No. That is, Here, if we're talking about what are dinosaurs, we've got this handy kind of cheat sheet here that I often show off. What is a dinosaur and what isn't? Even though the name dinosaur means terrible lizard, or terrible reptile, terrible saurian, whatever, dinosaurs are not lizards. We classify living things as scientists. We classify living things based on their ancestry, based on what they evolved from. So mammals are a distinct group of animals that all evolved from a common ancestor. If you didn't evolve from that ancestor, you are not a mammal, you cannot be a mammal. There's nothing mammalian about you. Likewise for dinosaurs. Dinosaurs all evolved from a common ancestor about 240 million years ago. Something like that, give or take a few million years. And so in order to be a dinosaur, you have to have evolved from a dinosaur ancestor. From this guy, pretty similar to like Eoraptor, we think, about 240 million years ago. So pterosaurs are not dinosaurs, even though they're very close. They're both ornithodyrine archosaurs, but pterosaurs are not dinosaurs. They're just outside the dinosaur family tree. Crocodiles are a little bit further away. They are archosaurs, but they're not dinosaurs. And then you have, Archaeolosauria, which also includes turtles and critters like that. And possibly plesiosaurs. A little bit further out, you have the lizards. This is part of Sauria here. So lizards, including mosasaurs and snakes, are part of clade Sauria, which is part of clade Sauropsida, the reptiles, which is part of clade Amniota. They're vertebrate animals that lay eggs on land, or at least ancestrally they laid eggs. Not all of them still do. Another kind of amniote, distinct from the reptiles. Different branch over here, you've got synapsids, which lead up to us, mammals, in the present day. So yeah. Does that make sense? So theropods became birds, but other dinosaurs were some kind of ancestor, asked Radical Static. Kind of. Theropod dinosaurs are right here, and birds are just one branch of the theropod group of dinosaurs. The theropod part of the tree, over here. You've got birds. But you had other groups of dinosaurs that evolved in different directions, and they were doing their own thing. Very successful over here, until all of these guys went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous, except for the birds. Birds were the smallest dinosaurs, and I guess you could say the luckiest dinosaurs. All the rest of them died out at the end of the Cretaceous. Anyhow, hope that makes sense. And it is an extended family tree, absolutely. And exactly. Yeah. Anywho. I hope that makes sense, Radical Static. I hope that makes sense. This is something that should be taught in every school in the world when you're learning about biology. This is the most basic thing in all of biology, is that there's this grand tree of life. Different groups of animals and other organisms, you know, evolve and change, and they branch out into new species. This is the story of life on Earth, and yet it's like probably 90% of students here in the United States never learn this in school until maybe they go to college and they take a biology course, and that's like their first introduction to this. Even though this is the most fundamental concept in all of biology, because of the power of religious fundamentalist groups here in the United States, this sort of thing is kept out of textbooks at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. Yeah. And Ken says it's because of history and what survived, but it's funny how birds being dinosaurs trips people up, while bats being mammals phases very few. Exactly. And I think that's because people are used to thinking of dinosaurs as being extinct. They're used to thinking of them as being lizard-like. And they're used to thinking of them as being large. And birds aren't particularly large or lizard-like or extinct. So, yeah. That's my take anyway. That's a good point, Ken. And Dr. Hub says, now I'm looking for where the turtles are. I've seen them at a reptile stem or the first branch off the crocodilians, asked Dr. Hubs. Well, turtles were kind of a mystery and are still a little bit of a mystery. But we're starting to get a better handle on them. It seems like they're probably kind of close to dinosaurs, but further than crocodiles are. I believe we have... Here, I'll show you. I can show you on the one zoom tree of life here. Let's go to the reptile, Sauropsida. It's working! Holy cow! It's working. I actually emailed the One Zoom people about this. It was really buggy for a while, and I emailed them about this. They said they would fix it, and they did. So kudos to them. Yes. Anyway, you've got sauropsids here, which are the reptiles. So that includes your lizards, which also includes snakes. Snakes are a kind of lizard. It includes your turtles. It includes your crocodilians, and your birds are all sauropsids. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, birds are a kind of reptile. Despite what you may have learned in school, birds are not their own distinct group, distinct from reptiles. They are part of the reptile family tree. They are reptiles. Dinosaurs evolved from reptiles, so dinosaurs are reptiles. Birds evolved from dinosaurs, so birds are reptiles too. So yeah. This, I think, reflects kind of our current understanding of where turtles belong, with an Archelosauria here. You have Archosauria here, the birds and crocodiles, and turtles kind of branch off here. So they're not super close to lizards, they're closer to crocodiles than they are to lizards. But they seem to have diverged, about 265 million years ago, the ancestors of turtles. But we're still kind of figuring that out. Yeah. Well, this says 209 million years ago. It was somewhere in between there. And Radical Static says if genetics advances far enough, it might be helpful to understand the other dinosaurs. We'll be talking about that a bit later, Radical Static, I think. I bet you Blint and I will talk about that. Genetics is one of the reasons why we now realize that turtles are probably closer to crocs and birds than they are to lizards. But the thing is, if we're trying to figure out the relationships of different dinosaur groups, genetics is not going to help us much, it seems, because we don't have any DNA from any extinct dinosaurs. From any Mesozoic dinosaurs, no DNA. DNA seems to be a pretty fragile molecule. It breaks down pretty quickly. It might last a couple of million years if you're really lucky. Maybe even 10 or 15 million years if you're extraordinarily lucky. But the last of these dinosaurs, except for the birds, of course, died out 66 million years ago. 66 million. It seems to be way too long for DNA to survive, and so we can't use genetic testing to figure out the relationships of these dinosaurs. We got to do it the old-fashioned way, looking at morphology. Oh yeah, yeah. Anywho, in Arco, Colonia, Sauria, Archaeosauria, exactly, Dr. House. Yeah, Whippomorpha, yes indeed, we talked about that too. Anyway, I'm really, really glad that this is working now, that they've debugged this. Yeah, because I use this like every day on this channel, and I'm so glad that it's working again. Fantastic. Yeah. Here, we can jump in from here, from all life on Earth to good old humanity, Homo sapiens. There we are. Good stuff. Kind of nestled in between bonobos and chimps and gorillas. We've got us. Yeah, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mammalia. Good stuff. And Kelladon K says, I remember when there was some effort to extract DNA from woolly mammoth remains frozen in the Arctic, but I have no idea if that panned out or not. I don't know if it did either. That's not really the way that they're going to try and resurrect the mammoth. Or maybe it did pan out. Maybe we have a full genome for mammoths nowadays. I'm not sure. But anyhow. And hello, sweetie pie. Speaking of mammals, how are you doing? It's good to have you here, sweetie. How are things? Are you enjoying your afternoon so far, sweetie pie? Are you? What do you think? Yeah. If you've not encountered her before, this is Ms. Sweetie Pie. She is one of my landlords here. Her and Moon Pie and Mini Pie. Moon Pie, Mini Pie, and Sweetie Pie are the feline trifecta. Man, what are you looking at, Sweetie? What's up there? Yeah, I am darn glad that they like me so much, or else I wouldn't be able to live here, huh, Sweetie Pie? Yeah. What are you looking at? Looking at down there. Yeah. What is that? What do you see? What do your cat eyes see, Sweetie Pie? And Fairy Willow, I'm glad you love Sweetie Pie. I love Sweetie Pie too. She is a real Sweetie Pie. That's why we named her that. Can I interest you in some treats, Sweetie Pie? Would you like some treats? No? You're intently staring at something, and I don't know what. What are you looking at, Sweetie? What are you looking at? Oh, okay. Now we're getting to the program. Let's get some treats for you. Would you like that? Would you like that? close. And you have to touch them this time. That's good. It's kind of gross, honestly. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, good girl, sweetie. Look at that. It's a smorgasbord for you. So many treats. I would switch to the other camera, but it's mostly obscured by cat butt right now. So we'll switch to the cat cam. Look at those mammal crunchers work. Mammals have got some pretty interesting teeth. Sweetie pies are no exception. And maybe this is a nice segue into talking about Smilodon teeth, the teeth of saber-toothed cats. Because there is a new paper that just came out by a colleague of mine from here in the Bay Area. Jack Seng is a mammal paleontologist at Berkeley, just down the road from me. And he and colleagues have just published a brand new paper on Smilodon teeth. It's interesting stuff. And Arrington Carson says, my monkey likes to block the camera when I'm on video calls. You have a monkey? Interesting. He just jumps up and sits right in front of it. Yeah, they'll do that. Placental mammals in general will do that. Maybe Metatherian mammals as a whole will do that. But I don't know. I've never tried that with a marsupial. I know placental mammals are very fond of doing that. Yeah. And Arrington Carson says primates. Oh, I know. So primates are a kind of placental mammal. So we'll scoot out from us to the other primates. Monkeys and apes and tarsiers, and primates. Primates are a kind of placental mammal. Go out a little bit further, Boreotheria, and placental mammals includes primates, like this black and white ruffed lemur right there. And then outside of placental mammals, you get the therian mammals and the metatherians, the marsupials, too. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for dropping by, Sweetie Pie. Hope you enjoyed your treats. Yeah. But yeah. Good stuff. Anywho. Why don't we talk about, as we were discussing cats here, with Sweetie Pie's appearance. There we go. The double-fanged adolescence of saber-toothed cats. Brand new research just published. Evidence suggests saber-toothed cats held onto their baby teeth to stabilize their sabers. Pretty cool. A mechanical analysis of the distinctive canines of California saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis, our state fossil here, suggests that the baby tooth that precedes each saber stayed in place for years to stabilize the growing permanent saber tooth, perhaps allowing adolescents to learn how to hunt without breaking those teeth. So having double teeth early on in life like that, pretty interesting. Let's take a look. April 30th, that's yesterday. The fearsome saber-like teeth of Smilodon fatalis, California's state fossil. And of course, I am streaming to you live from the beautiful sunny San Francisco Bay Area in wonderful California, USA. This research actually, much of it took place right over there in Berkeley. Very cool. Which is why this is part of Berkeley News, obviously. Those saber-like teeth are familiar to anyone who has ever visited Los Angeles' La Brea tar pits, a sticky trap from which more than 2,000 saber-toothed cat skulls have been excavated over more than a century. Though few of the recovered skulls had sabers attached, a handful exhibited a peculiar feature. The tooth socket for the saber was occupied by 2 teeth, with the permanent tooth slotted into a groove in the baby tooth. Very interesting. Paleontologist Jack Seng, associate professor of integrative biology at the University of California, Berkeley, doesn't think the double fangs were a fluke. 9 years ago, he joined a few colleagues in speculating that the baby tooth helped to stabilize the permanent tooth against sideways breakage as it erupted. The researchers interpreted growth data from for the saber-toothed cat to imply that the two teeth existed alongside each other for up to 30 months during the animal's adolescence, after which the baby tooth fell out. Think of it like training wheels for a saber tooth. Pretty interesting, right? You got the training wheels there, and eventually they fall off when you're mature enough to know what you're doing with those full-on fangs. Pretty interesting stuff. In a new paper accepted for publication in the journal The Anatomical Record, Jack Seng provides the first evidence that the saber tooth alone would have been increasingly vulnerable to lateral breakage during eruption, but that a baby or milk tooth alongside it would have made it much more stable. The evidence consists of computer modeling of saber tooth strength and stiffness against sideways bending, and actual testing and breaking of plastic models of saber teeth. This is really cool stuff. So this is one of those fossils from La Brea right there, from the tar pits. So this is from a young Smilodon. You've got, I guess, the adult fang right there, and then here's the baby fang right there. So kind of like training wheels for the big one. Pretty cool. Caption says, a portion of the right maxilla. Maxilla is the bone in the upper jaw that bears the teeth of a saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis, showing a fully erupted baby saber-tooth with the adult tooth just erupting. Oh, sorry. This is the baby tooth. This is the adult tooth that's just starting to come in. Very cool. Like practice teeth. Yeah, Fairy Willow. Yes, indeed. Based on Seng's tooth eruption timing table, he estimates that the animal was between 12 and 19 months of age at the time of death. The fossil is from the La Brea tar pits and is housed at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. Yeah, very nice. This new study is a confirmation, a physical and simulation test of an idea some collaborators and I published a few years ago, that the timing of the eruption of the sabers has been tweaked to allow for a double fang stage, said Seng, who is a curator in the UC Museum of Paleontology. Imagine a timeline where you have the milk canine coming out, and when they finish erupting, the permanent canine comes out and overtakes the milk canine, eventually pushing it out. What if this milk tooth, for the first 30 or so months that it was inside the mouth, right next to this permanent tooth, was a mechanical buttress, reinforcing the adult tooth until the adult tooth is robust enough, strong enough, that it doesn't need that help anymore. Very cool. Structural integrity. Yes, indeed, Claire Burr. Super neat. He speculates that the unusual presence of the baby canine, one of the deciduous teeth that all mammals grow and lose by adulthood. You know how you have baby teeth? You know, that fall out before you get your adult teeth? Your adult teeth kind of push them out, honestly. That's the case for pretty much all mammals. They work the same way. Including saber-toothed cats, including... And what we're talking about here is Smilodon fatalis. Saber-toothed cat. Saber-toothed tiger, as some people call it, even though it's not a tiger. Yeah. These critters lived right here in California until just a few thousand years ago. Really, really cool animals. This is what we're talking about. Sorry, I should have shown this at the beginning. So the idea is that those deciduous teeth, the baby teeth, stayed long after the permanent saber-tooth erupted and protected the tooth while the maturing cats learned how to hunt without damaging their adult teeth. Eventually, the baby tooth would fall out and the adult would lose the saber support, presumably having learned how to be careful with its saber. Paleontologists still do not know how saber-toothed animals like Smilodon hunted prey without breaking their unwieldy sabers. Now, we don't actually know what these critters are doing with their teeth. Are they using it to clamp down on the neck of prey animals? Are they biting the jugular or severing the windpipe? Yeah, how is this working? Or are they using it to kind of go in between the ribs of like a bison and just rip the guts out? How are these animals actually hunting? What are they really doing there? We don't really have a great idea of that so far, it seems. This is from a paper thinking that maybe they severed the spines? They bit through the backbone, like through the back of the neck of prey animals? Or, again, maybe they bit through the windpipe. Maybe they bit through the back of the skull, or we don't... There doesn't seem to be a strong consensus on this. Or if there is, I'm not aware of it. I work on dinosaurs, you know? This is kind of outside my realm of expertise. Yeah. Anyway, what we do think we know is that these animals had oversized forelimbs. So they were probably like... They had big, beefy arms. So they're probably like trying to knock over a prey item and like wrestle it to the ground with their big arms. But then what they do after that, we don't necessarily know. You know, why have these ridiculous saber fangs like this? Why did these evolve? Clearly they're doing something pretty serious with them. But what is it? What exactly are they doing? I don't really know. Yeah. But the double fang stage is probably worth a rethinking now that I've shown there's this potential insurance policy, this larger range of protection, Jack Sang says. It allows the equivalent of our teenagers to experiment, to take risks, essentially to learn how to be a full-grown, fully-fledged predator. I think that this refines, though it doesn't solve, thinking about the growth of saber-tooth use in hunting through a mechanical lens. The study also has implications for how saber-toothed cats and other saber-toothed animals hunted as adults, presumably using their predatory skills and strong muscles to compensate for vulnerable canines. So I guess the idea is that those saber fangs there are kind of a glass cannon, to use boxing terminology here. You know, they're a deadly, deadly weapon, but they're also really delicate. And breaking them might be the end of your predatory career. So they're doing something here, feeding on large prey, using those big canine teeth, but they had to be careful with them. You know? Yeah. Sheepdog says this just means I didn't bite enough as a kid. There you go. Yeah. And what's the space between the sabers and the lower jaw when open? Only like 4 to 5 inches? Murph, we think that these guys had an incredible mouth gape. So it would be wider than you might imagine. They could open their mouths pretty darn far. Like this. Like ridiculously far. Yeah. Like you see here. That's a lovely example, actually. Yeah, practically like 180 degrees. 120 is the figure that I often see with this kind of thing. But they seem to have had a pretty wide gape with their jaws. You gotta open your mouth really, really far to be able to use those big, stupid teeth. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Fall Machine says, if I put a down duvet on my chair, I can say I work on dinosaurs too. Yeah, but there'd be a big asterisk there, Fall Machine. Yeah. Yeah. It'd be a nice way to start a conversation, I suppose. Yeah. Steely Dan says the only mammals that ever lived that could eat those super tall hamburgers. I like that. I like that, Steely Dan. Good stuff. But yeah, we think these animals could open their mouths incredibly wide. The study also has implications for how saber-toothed cats and other saber-toothed animals hunted as adults, presumably using their predatory skills and strong muscles to compensate for vulnerable canines. Beam theory. Thanks to the wealth of saber-toothed cat fossils, which includes many thousands of skeletons, skeletal parts in addition to skulls unearthed in La Brea tar pits, scientists know a lot more about Smilodon fatalis than about any other saber-toothed animal, even though at least 5 separate lineages of saber-toothed animals evolved around the world. Smilodon roamed widely across North America and into Central America, going extinct about 10,000 years ago. About the same time that human beings really started stretching our legs here in North America. Coincidence? Yet paleontologists are still confounded by that fact that adult animals with thin-bladed knives for canines apparently avoided breaking them frequently despite the sideways forces likely generated during biting. One study of La Brea predator fossils found that during periods of animal scarcity, the saber-toothed cats did break their teeth more often than in times of plenty, perhaps because of altered feeding strategies. They're just getting more desperate, perhaps, during drought or famine. The double-fanged specimens from La Brea, which have been considered rare cases of animals with delayed loss of baby teeth, gave Seng a different idea. They had an evolutionary purpose. Maybe this is not a mistake or a mutation or a weird freak thing. Maybe this is just how these animals worked, with the double fangs as babies. To test this hypothesis, he used beam theory, a type of engineering analysis employed widely to model structures ranging from bridges to building materials to model real-life saber teeth. This is combined with FEA, with finite element analysis, which uses computer models to simulate the sideways forces a saber tooth could withstand before breaking. So FEA is one of these things that's used by engineers and by scientists alike. Yeah, let me see if I can find you a quick overview of this. Here.
Can seem quite scary, especially when you drill down the formulas behind how it's actually derived.
FEA
is also a very important tool to solve complex structural problems.
Yep.
And like any structural tool you use, you need to understand the underlying mechanics behind it, otherwise you don't know where the errors are. So garbage in will equal garbage out.
Yeah,
and
you need
finite
good data.
Element analysis is no different. Although you don't need to know how to derive FEA from first principles, there are important aspects of FEA analysis.
Anyway, let's go through this and see an example with a bridge, perhaps. Basically, what you're doing is kind of generating like a heat map like this of a 3D object, where you see the parts in red are the parts where the stresses are the highest, and where you've got the highest likelihood of breakage.
So typically you try and avoid them where you can, and where you can idealize the shapes as much as possible. A FEA assessment doesn't also need to stick to a 1D, 2D, or 3D element. You can mix and match them. So where you go...
Yeah, anywho. But this is something that's used by engineers to try and design bridges and find out where the stresses would be. Stuff like that. Like, FEA is something that's used in all kinds of different engineering and structural analysis and all kinds of stuff like that. I wish we just had like a simple explanation of what that is so that you could see it. But it's basically like trying to figure out where the stresses are the highest and where you're most likely to fail. Anybody who's ever done that, oh shoot, what's it called? What's the bridge building game? Yeah. Polybridge. I bring this up because we've got some gamers here in the chat. There we go. Here's a trailer for that. You don't want that to happen. The point of this game is to build a bridge as efficiently as possible. To let vehicles cross. Oh boy, so they don't go down into the drink. And so FEA is important for this kind of thing. You know, when real life bridge engineers are designing bridges, figuring out where it is that they might fail, you use FEA to kind of figure out where the stresses occur and stuff like that. Anywho, Ios played this. That's a pretty unconventional bridge there, but. Anyway, Polybridge is what this is called. Interesting stuff. Anyway, similar kinds of principles are used in this study to try and figure out what's going on with these teeth. Yeah, so beam theory and FEA. This combined with finite element analysis, FEA, which uses computer models to simulate the sideways forces of a saber tooth, could withstand before breaking. According to beam theory, when you bend a blade-like structure laterally, sideways in the direction of the narrow dimension, they are quite a lot weaker compared with the main direction of strength, Sang said. Prior interpretations of how saber-toothed cats may have hunted used this as a constraint. No matter how they used their teeth, they could not have bent them a lot in a lateral direction. Sideways bending of the teeth would break them. That makes sense? He found that while using a saber's bending strength, how much force it can withstand before breaking, it remained about the same throughout its elongation, the saber's stiffness, using a deflection under a given force decreasing with increased length. In essence, as the tooth got longer, it was easier to bend, increasing the chance of breakage. Makes a lot of sense. And here you see one of those heat maps right here. So I think everything in yellow is like where it's more likely to break. That's like where you've got higher stress. Even right here, that's almost orange right there. Yeah, the red dot near the tip is where the force was applied to measure the sideways bending stress right there. Yeah. But by adding a supportive baby tooth in the beam theory model, however, the stiffness of the permanent saber kept pace with the bending strength, reducing the chance of breaking. During the time period when the permanent tooth is erupting alongside the milk tooth, it is around the time when you switch from maximum width to relatively narrower width, when that tooth will be getting weaker, Sang said. When you add an additional width back into the beam theory equation to account for the baby saber, the overall stiffness more closely aligned with a theoretical optimal. Though not reported in the paper, he also 3D printed resin replicas of saber teeth and tested their bending strength and stiffness on a machine designed to measure tensile strength. So this is basically like a hydraulic press that measures how much force it's applying. And so it'll press and press and press and press and press until it breaks, until the object breaks, and then the machine will tell you exactly how much force was exerted. The results of these tests mirrored the conclusions from the computer simulations. He's hoping to 3D print replicas from more lifelike dental material to more accurately stimulate the strength of real teeth. Singh noted that the same canine stabilization system may have evolved in other saber-toothed animals. While no examples of double fangs in other species have been found in the fossil record, some skulls have been found with adult teeth elsewhere in the jaws, but milk teeth where the saber would erupt. What we do see is milk canines preserved on specimens with otherwise adult dentition, which suggests a prolonged retention of those milk canines, while the adult tooth, the sabers, are either about to erupt or erupting. So, very cool stuff. And here is a link to the paper in the journal The Anatomical Record. And I do believe that this is open access here.
Access granted.
Good stuff. So here's the actual paper right here. Really, really neat stuff here. Very cool. And I love a good opening line to an abstract. The canine of saber-toothed predators represents one of the most specialized dental structures known. Hypotheses about the function of hypertrophied canines range from display and conspecific interaction to soft food processing to active prey acquisition. I think it's probably the latter. Interesting stuff. And this is looking at the ontogenetic timing here. So again, we have discussion of ontogeny. Even in mammals, ontogeny is important. Imagine that. Super cool. So here's that paper. Beautiful Smilodon skull right here. Going from the baby to the adult. There's different kinds of forces. The teeth increase in size. Neat stuff. Very, very neat. Super cool. I am looking forward to reading this whole thing, and with any luck, I'll be able to discuss this with the author this weekend. Is the UCMP spring cookout, spring picnic is this weekend. So I'll be able to tell Jack Sang that he talked about his paper live on stream, and everybody thought it was super neat. Because it is. Dr. Hubs says, now that's what I call a 21st century research tool. And there you go, Dr. Hubs. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Very, very neat. Yeah. But yeah. Murph says, what? You never took a Bridgerbolt before? Not in a vehicle. Oh, and Claire Burr, I don't have the Smilodon skull here. It's in another part of the house because I was using it for something else. Maybe another time. But they did have very, very narrow teeth. And I betcha we can find a video of that. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the story of saber teeth. Or how saber-toothed cats grew their mouth swords. Let's take a look at this from Fox. Neat.
This is a story about a deadly tooth and a paleontologist named Jack Sang.
That's him right there. He just published this paper. I totally forgot about this video. Ah! This is so cool. Take a look. This is older research, by the way. This is from 8 years ago. This video was published, so that means the research is a little bit older than that. But yeah, take a look.
The animals that look weird or awesome.
And few animals look as weird and awesome as the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis.
Their mouths are their weapons, and that's part of the draw to study them. It's just, what were these animals doing? They're so weird looking.
Imagine you're in Los Angeles, 30,000 years ago.
And if you come across a Smilodon, it would probably look like a mountain lion on steroids. And the teeth would not be hidden from under the fur. It would be showing.
Yeah, wild.
So it's pretty scary looking. And if you're close enough to see those features, you probably are dead.
These teeth
Yeah.
are to be trifled with. Some could grow nearly a foot long.
And oftentimes they are serrated, just like steak knives.
The saber has evolved 6 times in different lineages.
That's evidence for that tool being a great.
And that's really, really neat. I mean, holy cow. And not all these groups are closely related to each other at all, either. You've got the Gorgonopsians from before the dinosaurs. You had these critters, Gorgonopsians, who were doing their thing. Like Inostrancevia, right here. This is a saber-toothed proto-mammal that lived before the dinosaurs. Really neat. Then you have Thylacus smilus, which is related to marsupials right here. It's probably like a stem marsupial. Then you have these different groups of cats and cat-like animals here. it's wild how many times these saber fangs have evolved, you know? It's just if you're a four-legged predator like this with a general kind of mammal body plan, if you're generally kind of cat-like in terms of your appearance and your body, your bow plan, your overall body morph, saber fangs are like a good thing to evolve, it seems. It's happened again and again and again. At least 6 times that we know of in these critters. Really neat.
Great weapon for carnivores.
Yeah.
But just how the saber-tooth used its weapons, well, that's a matter of hot debate.
Yep.
Some people have suggested
They could not hunt because they look so awkward.
but Jack says that theory couldn't cut hot butter.
If you're a scavenger, you probably would not need that extreme of a tool.
Yeah.
And another idea is that they didn't really use them to hunt. They just looked sexy with them.
The idea that it was
But most agree that
sexual
these
selection.
mouth daggers had...
And this idea doesn't hold any water because both the males and the females have them. In order for it to be sexual selection, it's got to be sexually dimorphic. And that's not the case here. Males and females both had these saber fangs, so it's not sexual selection. It can't be. It's not dimorphic,
Most
Murph.
agree
No.
that these mouth daggers had but one purpose.
Killing tools, stabbing tools, or cutting tools.
Yeah.
And then you sort of make this surgical cut on the neck. Hopefully severing either a major artery or the windpipe. And then they can actually use the back teeth, the cutting teeth, to just shear off pieces of the prey.
Yeah, those carnassial teeth in the back.
Your blood is starting to run cold from terror and revulsion.
Pretty much, yeah. And people, I don't know if other people do it. I do it in my office. I try to reenact, sometimes with different skulls when nobody's looking.
Yep, that's what we do as scientists.
So the cat would prowl very low and slowly, stealthily into the prey.
Is there a grad student
And
there?
at the last moment, it would probably just hop.
No, there we go. A ground sloth.
And then use its powerful neck musculature to drive the canines into the throat.
So the throat is what makes sense to me, because when you look at modern cats, when they're hunting big prey, whether it's zebras or antelope or whatever, they're generally biting through the windpipe, at least when we're talking about like big cats on the African savanna. Although mountain lions will sometimes bite the back of the skull. Tigers, when they're going after like a grizzly bear, or rather a brown bear, because Amur tigers, aka Siberian tigers, they will actually kill and eat brown bears, like Russia's equivalent to like a grizzly bear, and they'll it seems like they'll just kind of bite them at the base of the neck right here along the back, and they'll sever the spinal cord there. But those teeth are shorter and more robust than these. These teeth probably are not going to be able to go through bone without breaking. They need to go through soft tissue, so it would make sense that they're going through the windpipe, Yeah, and jaguars too will do that, but they've got stouter,
Many mysteries
more
remain
robust
about these
canines.
animals. The one Jack and his colleagues wanted to solve was, how long did it take these sabers to grow?
Yeah,
To figure it
ontogenetically.
out, they looked at fossils from the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles.
Nice.
They employed a combination of technologies, CT scans,
Because CT uses X-ray to blast through these fossils or bones.
and created 3D images of the teeth.
Nice.
They also looked at the chemical composition of the teeth. This tells them about the tooth growth rate. You see, teeth absorb nutrients as they grow.
There's some natural fluctuation in the composition of elements over the course of a year that you can actually see a seasonal cycle.
And they found Smilodon sabers grew about 6 millimeters per month.
And that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you put it into context, human fingernails, for example, grow at about 3.4 millimeters per month.
So faster than your fingernails grow.
Their canines grow half as fast. But it still takes Smilodon longer than most modern big cats to finish growing their extra long teeth.
Yeah.
To grow a 7-inch saber, it will take
Hey,
up to 2
Netherfire,
years.
how you doing? Welcome.
And this tells us a little about the life of baby saber-tooths.
Since it took longer to grow these weapons, it probably would have been beneficial for the cubs to be following their parents, or for their parents to care for the cubs for a longer period of time.
And this is the wonder of modern paleontology. You can start to understand and even imagine the life of a baby saber-toothed cub, an animal that went extinct 10,000 years ago just by studying some ancient teeth yanked out of a tar pit in LA.
Pretty cool. Pretty darn cool. What do you think, Mini Pie? How cool is that? I think that's pretty darn cool. What do you think of? What do your canine teeth look like? Can I see them? Can I see them? There. Whoa! Let's look at those teeth. Let's look at those teeth.
In at number 8, we have the Tradoon. Tradoon.
Thank you, Blake the Snake, for the 10 months of support. Really appreciate that. Thank you.
Tradoon.
Anybody, hold still. Let's look at those teeth. Let's look at those
Tradoon.
teeth. Hey. Oh, here. Look at those teeth. Oh, you didn't like that. Okay. Well, let's give you a treat. Yeah. There you go. Here you go, Mini Pie. Yeah. There's some for you. Oh, how's that? What do you think, Mini Pie? Yeah, use those chompers. Good stuff. Good stuff, Mini Pie. And you're standing on my keyboard. Ooh, crunch, crunch, crunch. Chew them up good. That's supposed to be good for your teeth. Subatomic dinosaur bone? I mean, dinosaur bones are made of atoms. I don't know if you could have a subatomic dinosaur bone. But nice opinion. It's good to have you here. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Hello. Mini Pie. You got one more?
On formal occasions, he's called Brontosaurus. Big fella, isn't he? 70 feet long. Tips the scales at a substantial
35 tons. Nice opinion. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, you use those forelimbs, Mini Pie. Yeah. Use them. Oh, there's another one there. Discovered another one, Mini Pie. Good stuff. There you go. Yeah. Excellent. It's funny, she doesn't do that often. She doesn't really use her front paws all that often, so that's cool to see. Oh! Announce it on the floor, Mini Pie. Oh, that's got cat saliva on it. I gotta wash my nose. Gross. That's it. Oh, no, you got one more right here. Look, there's a little bit more. Hey. Right there. Right there. Hey. There you go. Yeah. Excellent. Good job, Mini Pie. Good job. Good job. Oh, and there she goes. See you later, Mini Pie. Thanks for joining us. clicking cat. Yeah, just in time for the cat cam. We were just talking about cats. We were talking about saber-toothed cats here. I'll give you a link to this video if anybody would like to take a look. This paper was just published by Jack Sang. We were discussing that, and here is a video about that. Yeah. Anywho, Nice Opinion says, what are the odds that there is some undiscovered element, a chunk of raw material from an old meteorite just sitting under the ground somewhere? And nice, I mean, there are undiscovered meteorites all over the world, absolutely. Yeah. But generally, we've done a pretty good job as scientists of discovering the different kinds of atoms, the different elements, things with different numbers of protons. Most of the frontier there is in creating extremely temporary kinds of elements that only exist for, you know, millionths of a second, perhaps. So yeah, it's, again, I'm not a chemist, I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, you know? So I am not speaking about my area of research, my area of specialty, what I actually publish on in the scientific literature. You know, talk to a chemist about this, or a physicist, perhaps. But yeah. Look up island of stability for large trans-Uranian elements that could be more stable. Interesting, Dr. House. Yeah. But yeah. Anyhow. Yeah.
But in the serious game of paleontology, much larger mysteries still remain.
Great Citizen, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. It's good to have you here. Holy cow. And thank you, Lenina. Oh, Smorf was working on a Styracosaurus. Very nice, Smorf. Very nice. I like that a lot. Beautiful. Good stuff. We've got some Styracosaurus emotes here in this channel. Very nice. And it looks like you got the forelimbs pretty well correct. I'd make a few of these. Like, this one should probably be off the ground. There's a neat paper I can give you, Smorf, as reference for this. I think it was Fujiwara 2009. Here we go. Yeah, reevaluation of the manus structure in Triceratops. It's not really the paper that you need, it's more the, or the figure here. But by looking at fossil trackways and the hands, the forelimbs of Triceratops, yeah, it seems like digit 5 doesn't actually contact the ground. This is... that's okay. Yeah, that one's not terrible. And this seems to be the case with ceratopsians in general. This is how they looked. But yeah. We worked on looking for better feet. Yeah, it's not bad, Smorf. Definitely not. But I would just take digit 5 there and kind of move it up a little bit so it's not contacting the ground. Because we don't actually see that in ceratopsian footprints. We know they had that 5th digit because we find that in their skeletons, but we don't see it in the footprints, which means that it wasn't contacting the ground. Yeah. But Fujiwara 2009 is the paper that you want to look at for that. And short URL for that link? Yeah, Lynn, let me try. There we go. That should do it. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. Nice Opinion says, which museum do you guys think has the best fossils on the planet? Oh boy, that's... you know... there's so many different ways I can answer that question. It depends what kind of fossils you're interested in. And are we talking best preserved? Are we talking biggest collection? Are we talking widest stratigraphic variants? Are we talking best displays or best collections? Yeah. You know, it's like asking, which automobile is the most? Like, wait, most what? Most wheels? Most expensive? Most fast? Most massive? Yeah. I think best preserved, but biggest collections, authentic stuff not overdone. There's a bunch of different ones. Nice opinion. It depends what different taxonomic group you're interested in. If we're talking dinosaurs, one of the best museums in the world is one that I used to work at. Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, Montana is right up there. Here, let me try and find that VOD from, let's see, from when I did a live stream from here. There we go, Museum of the Rockies live stream.
Not applied to birds of prey.
Here we go.
I think we're here.
So yeah. Let me. Here's chat right here. Yeah. It hasn't swapped over yet?
We are now.
Okay, cool. Alright, so people can see you.
Yeah.
I am very, very excited to share this with you today. Let's go ahead. We've got some cool little kinetic displays.
Anyway, let's get into the actual fossil hall here.
And we'll take a look at some geology to kind of lay the groundwork for dinosaurs. Of course, the dinosaurs are the main attraction here. But you can't really understand the dinosaurs without their context. And to do that, you need geology.
So here we've got a lovely display about the Beartooth Mountains through time. Anyway, that's all well and good. Let's get into the dinosaurs, though.
Yeah, pretty cool. And there is an Orodromius foot right there.
That wasn't there when I was
dinosaur.
there. That was
His name means mountain runner, Orodromius.
when I lived in Bozeman. That wasn't.
Recognized they were so small. I mean, that's a pretty small one right there.
Anywho, lots of really, really cool dinosaur fossils on display at Museum of the Rockies. It's one of the world's largest collections of dinosaur fossils as well, behind the scenes.
Tyrannosaurus because it gets eaten by Deinonychus, and this is one of those instances. Yeah.
There we go.
It always looks like at the bottom.
Great.
Yeah. Let's see. Coming back,
There we go.
What we've all been waiting for. The Hall of Horns and Teeth, right here.
Yeah.
Including the only genuine mounted Tyrannosaurus skeleton in the state of Montana. This is Pex Rex right here.
Right there, yeah.
We saw a cast of Pex Rex at the Dinosaur Museum in Rapid City. And these are the actual bones right here. Pretty impressive, right? Yeah. So there's a few really, really interesting elements I'd like to point out. One of the cool things is the gastralia. It's got
Pex Rex.
Kind of almost like a basket of belly ribs underneath. Like we were talking about before, parts that are dark brown are the actual fossil. And then the light brown parts, kind of tan parts, the parts that have been filled in. Yeah, so this has...
Let's get over to Yoshi's trike, which is a dinosaur that I helped dig up.
Check that out. Here. This is one of the first dinosaurs I ever dug up. And the first dinosaur that I've ever dug up that went on public display.
Yep.
Is right here. Yoshi's trike. Check that out. Very cool.
Longest brow horns on any Triceratops.
I didn't find this, but I helped dig it up. Nice opinion. The reason why it's called Yoshi's trike is because it was discovered by a Japanese paleontologist named Yoshi Katsura. I think he works on champsosaurs nowadays. But he found this in 2010, and then they dug up most of the skull that year, left some of it. I don't know if they had a proper excavation permit, but we came back the next year with an excavation permit, knocked down the whole hill, and got most of the skeleton. Almost everything that was there, we collected.
Very, very cool. What do you think, guys?
It's phenomenal, honestly.
I mean, it's
a bit piecemeal from this angle, at least.
Well, yeah, and it's also not mounted correctly.
You don't think so? What's incorrect?
It's disappointing.
It's a classic Danny.
Yeah, it's really kind of embarrassing because it should be such a beautiful skeletal mount, but they really screwed the pooch on this one. Yeah.
They pooched it pretty
You
bad.
can still see me right now, right? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. This is a really, really unique, wonderful specimen. This is a Triceratops from the Middle Hell Creek, which is pretty rare. So stratigraphically, it's like, it's about 67 million years old. So like right from the middle of the Hell Creek, where not a lot of Triceratops specimens have been excavated or studied.
And here, brief detour. See if we can find. There we go. This is exactly what I was looking for. Ah, don't download. I want to view the image. I click open a new tab and it open image and it just keeps downloading. That's so annoying. We just want to look at the image. Here, I'll find it in the downloads folder and I'll open it in the browser so you can see. But this is a time chart of Triceratops specimens from the Hell Creek Formation in Montana. And what's really cool is that we can watch these animals evolve over time. There we go. So from the bottom of the Hell Creek Formation in Montana, about 68 million years ago, up through the middle, about 67 million years ago, up to the top, 66 million years ago, we can trace changes. We can watch these animals evolve over time, basically. And one of the biggest changes, one of the most obvious changes, is that nose horn right there. It starts off pretty small down here in Triceratops horridus, which is what Triceratops from the lower Hell Creek have been named as one species. And they get progressively bigger into Triceratops prorsus here at the top. Whether or not you call these different species is kind of arbitrary because it seems to be one lineage over time. This is just like one population of animals slowly changing over the course of about 2 million years. But, yeah, the nasal horns get a lot bigger. In the middle, the nasal horn is kind of medium-sized, but the brow horns are huge. So Yoshi's trike is this specimen right here, MOR 3027, is from right here. And then this one right here is UCMP 113697 from right up there as well. So, yeah, really, really long brow horns for Triceratops in the middle of the Hell Creek. That's what you're seeing here. And they tried to find as similarly aged individuals as they could, HD, yeah. Trying to account for ontogeny.
The whole thing that you see right here is a cast. So none of the actual bones that you're seeing before you are the real fossil bones here on display. The real ones are downstairs in the collections. The reason why there's brown and white here is that the bones that are brown are the ones that we actually have the real fossils downstairs. All the white ones are sculpts. So those were just to kind of fill in the blanks so we could make a whole skeleton and put it up on display. But yeah, there's a lot of things wrong with how it's mounted. If you look at the dorsal vertebrae, do you see how there's like these big marshmallows in between there? Like, ugh. Yeah, its back is all those arched like it's an angry cat. Should be like almost contacting each other. The back should not be that arched. The forelimbs are all wrong. This animal should have like kind of a smallish body and just a big comical head on it. And of course the ribs are all.
Java says, is this the one that had the weird residue on the frill?
No, this is a different one, Java. That one's not on display. That was Mark's Trike 2. That's down in collections. But yeah. This is an iconic Triceratops specimen. I just wish it were mounted correctly.
Funkus says, so this is why Danny left.
Things like this, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But it was, I don't know. It's still a really special feeling to see a dinosaur that you dug up go on public display. I mean, definitely. That's incredible. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. Even if it is, even if it is all wrong. Yeah.
Was the little one unearthed next to the big one?
It was not. No, this is Juvie Trike 3. So this was discovered either by Denver Fowler or by Warwick Fowler. I forget.
Yeah, it was discovered by Warwick Fowler, Denver Fowler's father.
But yeah, really, really important juvenile Triceratops specimen.
Little Pink Pony says, why don't they fix them out? There's neither the will nor the money to do that, honestly.
In fact, the one, the sub badge, I think it's the 3-month sub badge in chat, is based on this particular specimen.
I think it's the 4 or
Really,
5 month
really
sub badge
important
now.
one.
But yeah, let me see if anybody in chat has that currently. We've got a lot of very mature Triceratops here. But scrolling up in the chat, Commodore 256, you might have. No, that's the one that's just younger than this. I don't know if anybody in the chat has the Juvie Trike 3 stage 1. Timmer's Crutch and Cast the Dreamer, theirs are younger. Dame Karen does? Yeah, there it is, Dame Karen. You've got your sub badge right there. Is based on this specimen of Triceratops, Juvie Trike 3. Those are the sub badges are based on different ontogenetic growth stages of Triceratops. Oh yeah, and you too, Little Pink Pony. Yes, indeed, that is Juvie Trike 3.
It's got those cool backwards swept horns right there. It's got those nice pointy epis on the parietals and the squamosals. It's got that little button horn on it.
Yep, so when I was putting these together, let me see if I can find those files. Let's see, emotes, etc. Sub badges, Triceratops.
Ontogeny.
And there it is right there. Oh, that's so small. Maybe I can find you a bigger one. Hang on. Let's see, Juvie Trike 3. Oh, nope, there it is. That's what we want. Nope, stop it, Photoshop. Gosh darn it. Hang on a minute. Gotta wait for it to do its thing, and then we gotta close it. Close Photoshop. Okay. There we go. Much better. That's Juvie Trike 3 right there. This is my illustration that I did. I tried to make a lot of the lines and a lot of the stuff just much more bold, so it would kind of show up in a really small format like that. That's something you really got to remember when you're doing emotes or you're doing sub badges, is that, you know, you gotta. It's like the difference between doing stage makeup and doing film makeup, I guess. Got to make everything more bold, more obvious when it's going to be really, really small. Yeah. But yeah. Anyhow. That's Juvie Trike 3. We've also got our baby Triceratops, adult or semi-adult Triceratops right here. It's more of a Triceratops horde. Well, it could be kind of an yeah. And then here's one that's smaller than Juvie Trike 3. Right there. Yeah. Anywho. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, those are later on in this live stream. I go over to the wall of ontogeny for Triceratops, and we take a look at some of those.
Very cute. Let's go like this to kind of give you a sense of scale. Yeah. Oh, it's kind of funny. When we were at Yellowstone yesterday, like seeing all of these animals walk around, we saw like some bison and stuff, and like you two were talking about how big the bison were.
Yeah.
That's funny. That would be like a smallish dinosaur. Like that would be like a young Triceratops size. Yeah, they. Wait, what?
Because you're salty about that.
I'm holding my tongue right now. Believe me.
It's the dinosaur.
Yeah, I don't know. Just like the hips are not articulated properly, and like limbs are all disarticulated, and the ribs. What's going on with the ribs?
Those are all
When you're
cattywampus.
mounting a dinosaur skeleton and the whole thing is a cast or a sculpt, you can do whatever you want to it, you know? I understand when some like genuine dinosaur skeletons, when the actual bones are up there, might be a little bit wonky to mount them. But with this, you got free reign, so I don't know.
Nice Opinion says, do you think the dinosaurs would like you if they were around again? I mean, we do have dinosaurs around today, Nice Opinion. We do. We just call them birds. Birds are living dinosaurs. And I've definitely made friends with some birds before. But do they like you? Yes. Yeah. Definitely. How well does he get along with birds when his cats aren't around? The cats stay inside, you know, to protect the birds and also to protect the cats from large predatory birds. So yeah, cats belong inside. They do not belong outside. Oh boy, I could tell you stories from when I lived in Montana, the horrible things that would happen to outdoor cats there. But yeah. And excellent, Claire, excellent. Yeah. And Static Life Photo says, how does a fossil end up mounted like this? Surely there's people with a passion for accuracy, chomping at the bit for the opportunity. Not really in this case. This is honestly like one of the reasons why I left Museum of the Rockies, is things were just kind of headed downhill there. Yeah, it was just kind of poor leadership, honestly. And that's... I don't know if things have changed dramatically since then. I think it might be kind of on the same path. But yeah.
I don't know. It's still really cool. It's really cool to see a dinosaur that I dug up, you know, on public display like this and see it become so iconic. You can buy plastic models of this particular Triceratops specimen.
Yep.
There's a company called Eofauna that produces them. I have one. It's really cool. But they ought to remount this because it's...
Java says it looks more like a angry cat.
It does,
than a
yeah,
grazing giant.
exactly. Back's all arched like a...
Why are his feet off the ground? You know, why wouldn't they be like...
I know, right?
Hey,
you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basura.
No,
not good.
You're absolutely right. And also, they're just like flat like that. Like, that's not how Triceratops' hands work.
No.
Curious.
Completely wrong.
Okay. But let's talk a little bit about Triceratops ontogeny, actually, while we're on the subject of Triceratops.
Yeah.
Go over there. Looks like there's no...
And HD, thank you from Little Pink Pony. How old do you think that one would have been? It's not been published yet, but this particular specimen of Triceratops is probably like a young adult. Probably not anywhere close to fully mature. But hopefully, eventually, when it gets published, we finished digging this thing out of the ground in 2011. I think it went up on display in 2013. Here's a photo of me next to the skull before that was mounted. Yeah, you can see how long those horns are. Just nuts. This would have been about 2013, I think. Yeah, so it's been like 12 years in the making, and it's not been published on yet. Which again is a little frustrating. But publishing papers doesn't really, I don't know. It might not be a high priority for Museum of the Rockies right now. Yeah. Anyhow.
No people there right now. Let's see.
Put the camera up, see where the light is.
Okay. So, as you see in chat with all the different Triceratops ontogomorphs,
yep.
A lot of those are actually from here in Museum of the Rockies. And so check out this wall behind us. Look at this Ios similarity. Look at all these Triceratops specimens. This is a growth series of Triceratops, from like baby to adult. Really incredible. Before we see that, since there's some people here right now, let's look at these adult and subadult Triceratops. So not only does Triceratops change individually as they grow and mature, but the species was also evolving, or the genus was evolving over Hell Creek times in about the 2 million years represented in those rock layers. So I really wish they'd have a mature Triceratops horridus, but this is an example of Triceratops horridus right here.
Yeah, it's a younger one.
Horn thing is true.
Horn thing? I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
there you go, Madam 33. Yeah.
it's not bad, just based on this specimen right here, MOR 1120. So, but yeah. Anyway, this is Triceratops horridus from towards the bottom of the formation, and then Triceratops prorsus up here. It's got shorter brow horns and a big, thick nasal horn.
Yep, and that's what we were looking at right here. There we go. Triceratops horridus at the bottom, small nasal horn. Triceratops prorsus, big honkin' nasal horn at the top. So yeah, the nasal horn gets progressively larger as you move up through Hell Creek time.
Ios and Lordy, the Triceratops you took a picture with at the airport, that's this specimen right here. This is Mort, MOR 004.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that photo, actually, because it was pretty funny. If you ever fly into Bozeman, Montana, you will encounter some dinosaurs, most likely, while you are there. There we go. Where's that? Scrolling up. Dinosaur National Monument. Moving up into Montana. There we go. So there is Ios and Lordy.
Ontogeny.
With a cast, a replica, made of resin, of Mort, that Triceratops skull. So, Lordy and Ios, right there. And of course, when they flew into Montana, I had to greet them with the traditional Montana greeting, with a plastic flower lei. That's not traditional, I just thought it was funny. But I picked them up from the airport, and there's Mort right there. Big animal, you know? These are not small critters. Triceratops prorsus, big animal when it's... This one was not even full grown. Not even fully mature. But yeah, a cool critter.
Hello, I'm Sam Neill from Jurassic Park. Let's protect our fossils, because if they're removed, America loses them forever.
Manon's Gifts, thank you for the follow, and welcome to Paleontologizing. And Ziga, thank you for the follow too 2 minutes ago. That's funny, I thought that your alert was part of the VOD, but no, that was part of... Welcome, Ziga, it's good to have you here too. Anywho, yeah, as, we call this specimen Mort. I guess for Museum of the Rockies Triceratops. This is one of the first dinosaur specimens to be collected for Museum of the Rockies. I think long before Jack Horner was even part of the picture there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool, right? Yeah.
And the baby trike with the horns curved backwards would have been what age? I think probably like maybe a couple years old. For that one, if we're talking about Juvie Trike 3. Here. Juvie Trike 3. Yeah. Here we go. The lighting isn't the best in this photo, but it would be this stage right here, Juvie Trike 3. It was probably a couple years old. These animals grew really fast. Yeah, but this is one view of Triceratops ontogeny. You've got a probably less than a 1-year-old Triceratops here. And then they, maybe even just, I don't know. I would guess less than a year old here. They hatch out of an egg about this big. if not smaller. And then they grow to be the size of a bus. Or, I don't know, a bus. The size of a dump truck. Well, I don't know. The size of an elephant. They get to be pretty darn big. When they're mature. Yeah, big animals. About the size of an elephant when they're mature. But they hatch out of a little egg like that. Yeah. Anyhow. And what's the difference to a Diabloceratops? Oh, there's a ton of difference. Holy cow. So Diabloceratops is from the other side of the Ceratopsian phylogeny, the other side of the horned dinosaur family tree. Diabloceratops is from earlier in time down in Utah. It is significantly smaller, and its skull looks way different. It doesn't have a nose horn, it's just got those two brow horns, and then it's got the two big epis coming off the back of the frill right there. So very, very different. Yeah. There are probably about 60 different ceratopsian genera that have been named at this point. A huge number. This is just a small sampling of different ceratopsian dinosaurs that have been named, with wildly different horns and frills. And so we're still kind of at the stage where we're discovering new ones, and everybody's just wowed by how different they are. But a few paleontologists are starting to actually put them together and figure out which ones evolved from which other ones, to basically kind of build this tree of life and show the different lineages that are evolving and spitting out these different species left and right like this. It's pretty cool. One of those people is Denver Fowler, who's trying to kind of figure this out. Here's a figure from a cool paper that he had a couple years ago, naming two new kinds of ceratopsian dinosaur. Navajoceratops, who we have here in our chat. That's one of our ceratopsians. It's the one with the reddish frill. That's Navajoceratops. And then Terminocavus. And Denver thinks that these guys actually form a lineage like this. Utah Ceratops seems like it very well might evolve into Pentaceratops, which evolves into this one that's not been named yet. This might be Sierra Ceratops, actually. It's named recently, but after this paper came out. Then Navajoceratops, then Terminocavus, then Anchiceratops. Anchiceratops might eventually evolve into Triceratops. Excuse me. So we're starting to get to the point where we understand these animals well enough, and we have enough examples, and we have a good enough understanding of where each of them fall in the timeline, that we can kind of put them together and start to watch them evolve, which is so cool to think about. Yeah. Anywho. Really, really cool. K-Ceratops. There you go, HD, yeah. Let's see. Sierra Ceratops. Actually, this might be a different one. That might be a different lineage. Like, and related to, like, Anchiceratops. Or no, Anchiceratops is, seemingly the end group. Yeah. It might, so Anchiceratops might evolve into Sierra Ceratops. There's this whole idea about what we call faunal endemism. It's an idea that my crew is going to be testing a bit this summer in Wyoming. Can I find you a video about this? Let's see. Faunal endemism. Is there like a short and sweet video on this? There probably isn't. There's some much longer videos here. Yeah, here's Scott Sampson.
It was very, very different.
Talking about this. Here, about time. And then Laramidia.
Places like that, but I really want to focus on North America, and if we go, this is 76 million years ago.
Sorry, the audio quality
Once
isn't
again,
good. That's not my
an age
fault.
of
It was the
extreme
recording.
global warming, no ice caps, sea levels much higher than today, and there was a shallow sea that went all the way from the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf
And
of
I haven't heard
Mexico.
anything about that Golganek.
So North America was not one landmass, it was
Yeah.
at least two. The one in the west has been named Laramidia,
Laramidia?
and the one in the east has been named Appalachia.
Yeah, Appalachia. So this is something that's going to be really important to understand for when I'm in the field this summer. There we go. North America right here. Today, obviously, it doesn't look like this. Florida is mostly above water today. It was not 90 million years ago. Nor were Nebraska or Kansas or Oklahoma or most of Texas. So when you've got this separation of continents, when you've got this seaway in between, you can have like dinosaurs evolving differently here in Appalachia than they are in Laramidia because they're separated by an ocean. Interesting things, evolutionarily speaking, can happen there. But there's this other idea that the dinosaurs in the north are super different from the dinosaurs in the south because there was like a mountain range separating them here. And this idea is called faunal endemism. This idea that the dinosaurs in Montana and Alberta, Canada, were totally different from the dinosaurs down here. They evolved separately in isolation from each other. That's the idea of faunal endemism. I'm not necessarily convinced of this idea. I think what we see as differences from up here and down here might just be because we're looking at slightly different times up here from down here. The dinosaurs may have been able to go back and forth all across, and when we think that we're looking at dinosaurs from the same time, it might just be these dinosaurs are evolving really quickly. And so we're seeing that in the differences up north and down south because you're looking at different times. That's kind of the idea.
There were sea monsters, giant mosasaurs, which are big lizards, and plesiosaurs, big long-necked things, swimming around in these oceans, and dinosaurs on land. And it turns out that if you want to understand the age of dinosaurs, there is no better place to look than this western landmass that we are sitting on right now.
True.
Which we now call Laramidia.
No expense.
And
Reese YOO gifted 3 months of tier 1 to Poop Time.
thank you,
They
Reese.
gifted 3 months
I
in the
appreciate
channel.
that. Thank you very, very much, Reese, for your generosity there. I appreciate it. Good stuff.
Yeah. And that's because we have fossils from this time period, what's called the late Cretaceous, the end of the age of dinosaurs, all the way from Mexico in the south to Alaska in the north.
Yeah.
And
Terry Taylor, if I were to go fossil hunting in Arizona, where would you suggest? I don't know. I've never done fieldwork in Arizona. I'm not really familiar with that area. But there's a book that you should check out, Terry Taylor, if you're not familiar with it. Roadside Geology of Arizona is a super handy book to have. All of the roadside geology of different states books are really, really cool. It's kind of organized by different highways. So like if you're driving from Phoenix to Mesa, let's say, it'll tell you what the highway is there and then what you see in the rocks as you're driving from one place to another. Kind of tells the story of what's going on with those rocks. It's really cool. So I'd recommend that. If shoot, you can get it for less than $7 US. You're on Thrift Books. Yeah. But yeah, good stuff. But I'm not sure about collecting fossils in Arizona. You got to watch out, make sure that you're collecting on on private land, or at least if you're collecting on public land, make sure you're only collecting invertebrates. Otherwise, that's super illegal. Yeah. And Smorf, you fix that? Very nice. Nicely done, Smorf. Very cool. Very cool. Well done. Good stuff. Good stuff, Smorf. But yeah, anywho, back to
All
back
these
to this.
places are producing fossils. Most of them are on the east side of the Rockies, which is why it's so cool that we have Washington's first dinosaur on the west side of the Rockies up
Yeah.
here. You just don't
They shouldn't have
find
named it,
many of
though.
those. They don't. The rocks aren't
Yeah.
around to preserve them, or at least they're not exposed.
There you go, Mayor Space. Yeah, yeah.
I want to focus
Not a lot of
on
geology
one
in
part
Florida,
of this area, and that's the state of Utah.
Not
in
a lot
place
of
in southern Utah, known as Grand Staircase
above sea level
Escalante
geology.
National Monument. If you've never heard of it, that's not a big surprise, but I bet you've heard of all the places around it. Grand Staircase makes up about 2 million acres.
Anyway, it's talking about Utah stuff. Talking about the dinosaurs there. Badlands. Duck-billed dinosaurs. And then... yeah. Talking about the environment. Maybe this is
Remember, there's no polar ice caps.
fondamentalism.
Maybe the greatest diversity of animals and plants isn't at the poles, where it might be hotter. Maybe it's at mid-latitudes like Utah, because what we're finding is a super diverse ecosystem that lived 77 million years ago. So really interesting. So now we can go and put the dinosaurs back in it. This is a reconstruction of Cosmos.
And nice, Petrodactylus. That's cool. Washington's a wonderful state. I got to visit Washington for the first time for my birthday last year. Went up to Seattle, took the train up there. Lovely. What a lovely state. What a lovely city. Seattle is beautiful. Gorgeous. Yeah, it's cool that you've got a dinosaur from there, but yeah, shoot, one crummy bit of limb bone, you know, I know that they were eager to name a dinosaur based on that, but man, they should have let discretion be the better part of valor there. Yeah. I did go to the Burke Museum, Petrodactylus. I went to the Burke Museum. I saw some of the dinosaurs that I dug up there. That's a long story. I've told this before a few times. I don't want to get too derailed right now to tell it. But, yeah. Yeah, the Triceratops you see on display at the Burke Museum, I dug up some parts of that. That's one of the dinosaurs I helped collect back in 2014.
That horned dinosaur with 15 horns, living in this swampy setting.
And you bet, Terry Taylor. Awesome. Awesome.
And if we think now, going back to North America being split in two and Laramidia over on the west, what we are seeing is different communities of dinosaurs living at different latitudes, at least up in Alberta.
And yeah, it might not be that these dinosaurs are all living at the same time. I kind of suspect that you've got kind of a homogeneity of dinosaurs at the same time. We're just looking at slightly different times here, but that's one of the hypotheses we'll be testing this summer with more of our fieldwork.
So we had those 3 hypotheses, if you remember. One was they weren't really different, they just lived at different times.
Yep.
The second was that there was a lot more food around, and the third hypothesis was that they didn't eat as much. Well, we can now rule out the first hypothesis. We've been able to date the rocks, and it's what...
Some of those dates have been overturned since this came out. This is from the Burke Museum, by the way. This was 7 years ago. Some of those dates have been overturned. They were wrong. And so we can't really throw out that first hypothesis. I think we might be looking at animals from the same time, from different times.
What's called radiometric dating. It's little pieces of volcanic ash you can take out, and you can look at the rate of decay from one unstable form into a stable form, and compare those and get a sense of how old these rocks are. And it turns out that the rocks in Utah are the same age as some rocks in Alberta.
Some of this stuff is not published yet, but like I'm privy to some of this information, and no, it turns out they're different ages.
Totally different dinosaurs. So we can rule out the hypothesis that they lived at different times. And that leaves us either with the more food or the not eating as much. And my bias is that there was probably more food around.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll give you a link to this right here. But yeah. Interesting stuff. And you know what, Petrodactylus? I can tell that story now. Here. I got to visit Seattle for the very first time this past September, sorry. Lordy and I took the train up there for our birthdays. Lordy's birthday is the day before mine. And so we took the train up to Seattle. And it was a pretty good time. It was pretty cool being able to see a bunch of these dinosaurs there, including ones that I helped dig up in the Hell Creek Formation of Montana. Yeah, so there's a laboratory there, the Prep Lab, where they clean some of these fossils, where they get them ready for scientific study, where they preserve them and stabilize them and get ready to put them into the collections or even put them on display in some cases. This is the Prep Lab, the viewing lab. And so I saw this Triceratops horn right here, and I thought that looked awful familiar. And I didn't want to bother the people working inside, but I also really had a question about this. I asked, I want to know, is this the Triceratops that I helped dig up back in 2014? Because in 2014, when I lived in Montana, I was working under Denver Fowler at Museum of the Rockies. And the Burke Museum sent a crew out to the same area of Montana. And they were mostly mammal people. They wanted to know how to dig up dinosaurs, because they'd never really done that before. They're just digging up tiny little Mesozoic mammals. But they were about to open up this big new fossil hall, and they needed dinosaurs to put on display. And so they asked us, where do we get some dinosaurs? And Denver was able to help them out. He had found some Triceratops in previous years. He geotagged them, like GPS'd them. And so he said, I've got some Triceratops sites I can give you. If you need a Triceratops, I know where we have some. I'll show you some good ones. I'll show you how to dig them up, and you can have a Triceratops on display. So that's what we did. Our crew was basically showing the Burke Museum crew how to dig up dinosaurs that summer. I bet you I've got some photos of that. Here we go. Let's see. Fieldwork photos. This thing is so slow now. I guess because it might be drawing from the portable hard drive. But Hell Creek 2014. And yeah, here's us working at one of those sites in Montana. This is a Triceratops that Denver Fowler had logged in years prior. And yeah, we were basically showing them how to dig this thing up. There's Denver right there. So anyway, we get to the Burke Museum last year. 9 years later. September 2023. And I'm wondering, is this a horn from the Triceratops that we helped dig up? And this is glass right here. It's mostly soundproof as well. I didn't want to knock on the glass or be obnoxious. People working in the lab. So there's a little table behind me right there. And there is like some coloring pages for kids and a bunch of crayons or little nubbins of crayons. You know how kids are with crayons. So I pick up a little nubbin of a crayon. I turn over one of the coloring pages and I just write out on it, like, is that the Denver's trike specimen? I was on the crew that excavated that in 2014. Is this the same specimen? And so I waited until one of the people turned around, and then I as unobnoxiously as I could, held that up to the window and I gestured. And this gal turned around. She read the note and she said, she went like this. Like, indicating, wait right there, I'm going to come around and talk to you. And so that was Kelsey Abrams, who is the lab manager there. And so she took me and Lordy back into the collections and into the lab to see a bunch of these fossils. And I got to... visit with one of those dinosaurs that I dug up back in 2014. This is the occipital condyle of Denver's trike right there. So this is the big, like, ball and socket joint. This is like the trailer ball hitch on the back of the animal's skull that attaches to the neck. So look at how big that is. Like, this animal had a big, big, big head. Anyway, that was super, super cool to be able to see this. I also got to see some parts of... oh yeah, there's the jaw of Denver's trike right there. Lower jaw, and we've got some of those teeth. And some other bits and pieces of it. There's the rostral bone right there. That's the upper beak bone of this Triceratops. Yeah. Anyway, we also got to see parts of the Tufts Love Tyrannosaurus specimen. Here we are there, looking at some of these elements. And there are a few parts of that famous T-Rex skull that are not actually on display, because they wouldn't have really fit together properly. And instead they are, they're right here in the drawer. So yeah, the premaxillae of the Tufts Love Rex. The beautiful T-Rex skull that's out there on display, the premaxillae are replicas, because the real ones didn't fit together perfectly. They would have had to, like, kind of smush them and risk breaking them. So instead what they did is they made exact copies of these, and then, you know, you can kind of fudge a copy. You can cut part of it off to get them to articulate perfectly, and then stick it on the skull. And that's what they did there. Oh, yeah. Still need to attend one of the fossil collection tours. Very cool. Petrodactylus, if you end up going, and if you end up... I wouldn't be surprised if it's led by Kelsey Abrams. Because she's super cool and outgoing, and
then I use this very carefully and very slowly on the rock to start.
There's an air scribe like we were talking about earlier.
So we've looked at 3 huge jackets.
If you go there and see Kelsey, tell her Danny says hi.
At the Burke is
we need to bring her on here for an interview at some point, but I'm running out of time before I leave for the field.
So the large majority of our fossil preparation actually happens underneath the microscope.
Anyway, cool stuff. So yeah. Anyhow. I don't think that works in a bank fall machine. That would probably get you arrested or shot, I would imagine. Yeah. Anywho, good stuff. And you know what? We're going to do our crossover stream with Balint, so let's jump into that here. I think he's probably live right now. Let's see. Bingo, he is. Excellent. Every Wednesday, or almost every Wednesday, I might skip next week, we'll see, do a scientist crossover stream with Balint, who is a molecular and systems biologist over there on the East Coast of these United States. And we talk about new scientific papers, we discuss them from our different perspectives, and it's always a good time. So don't go away. We are going to wrap things up here, but I'm still going to be streaming just on Balint's channel. We're going to jump over there. So don't go away, everybody. Let's quickly run our credits here as we jump over there. There we go. And thank you to everybody who is about to be named in our credits here. Thank you for keeping me online. Thanks for subscribing and cheering and gifting, following, rating, moderating. These streams would not be possible without your help, your enthusiasm, your viewership, your questions, everything else.
1,000 bits can make a wonderful difference in promoting the appreciation and understanding of fossil
Thank you,
science
Reese.
here on Twitch.
I appreciate that. But this doesn't have to be good night. I'm going to be over on Balint's channel. We're going to be discussing the T-Rex brain paper, or papers. That is going to be really cool because that's where kind of modern biology, molecular biology, neurology intersects with dinosaur paleontology. That's going to be a ton of fun. And then Balint has got a paper for us to talk about from his field as well. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. And thank you, Gravity. I appreciate that. But yeah. Let's go ahead and jump in there now, shall we, everybody? I'll see you over there. Let's do it.